Welcome back to our channel where we uncover the mysteries and money hidden in plain sight inside your pocket change, dive deep into the stories of overlooked coins, and explore the incredible world of minting eras that transform ordinary coins into rare collectibles worth serious cash. And today we are turning our full attention to the 2003 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that many would assume is just another common copper-plated zinc coin minted by the billions and tossed aside without a second glance. But those who have spent time in the world of numismatics know that 2003 pennies, despite their massive mintage and modern appearance, can sometimes be found with rare and valuable errors that cause their value to skyrocket from a humble face value of 1 cent all the way to $185 or more, depending on the nature, visibility, and significance of the mistakes they carry. And this episode is dedicated entirely to uncovering the secrets behind why certain 2003 pennies are suddenly being talked about in coin collecting circles, listed at premium prices on auction sites, and hunted by error specialists, because it's not just about age or rarity when it comes to coin collecting. It's about what went wrong during the minting process and how those unexpected flaws create scarcity, intrigue, and value in the eyes of both serious collectors and casual treasure hunters. So let's dive into the detailed, intricate, and absolutely fascinating universe of 2003 1-cent coins and why some of them are turning heads and selling for $185 or even more. And it starts with understanding that even in high mintage years, and 2003 certainly qualifies with over 7 billion pennies minted across the Philadelphia and Denver mints combined, errors can and do slip through the cracks, making it through automated inspection and into circulation. And while such coins are often quickly spent and forgotten by the average person, a trained eye can spot the kinds of minting mistakes that drive value and excite collectors. And one of the most talked about and studied errors on the 2003 penny is the presence of die cracks and die chips, particularly those that form on Lincoln's face, jawline, neck, and hair, or within the lettering of Liberty and I in God We Trust, as well as near the date. And these anomalies occurred due to repeated striking pressure wearing down or fracturing the dies used in the coin production process, leading to raised lines, blobs, or even entire missing design elements on the final struck coin. And when these errors are dramatic and easy to see without magnification, their appeal grows rapidly among those who collect error coins, especially when they appear on a coin in high condition or create interesting visual distortions like an extra lip under Lincoln's jaw, or what some collectors describe as a spiked head or horned Lincoln appearance caused by die chips extending from his head. And certain coins with larger die chips are referred to as cuds when part of the die has broken away completely, leading to a raised blob that obliterates a section of the coin's rim and design. And 2003 cents with full rim cuds are considered valuable due to their size and rarity, and that alone can push a coin's value toward the $185 mark, especially if the cud is located in a dramatic spot such as the date or Lincoln's eye, making the coin stand out both visually and historically. And then we move to the intriguing world of doubled dies, and while major doubled die obverses or reverses aren't commonly reported for the 2003 penny, that doesn't mean doubling doesn't occur, because even minor or moderate die doubling can significantly enhance value when it is visible to the naked eye or under simple magnification, especially when found on important design features like the date, the word Liberty, or the motto I in God We Trust. And what causes these doubled dies is a misalignment during the hubbing process when the coin die receives its design from the hub, and if it shifts slightly between impressions, it results in a die that strikes coins with doubled features. And while minor, these doubled dies still represent a distinct error class and are tracked by collectors who specialize in die varieties. And with the help of magnifying glasses or coin microscopes, many have found new examples that continue to grow the list of known varieties for this year. And moving on to repunched mint marks or RPMs, the 2003 D penny from the Denver Mint can also show signs of this error, which happens when the D mint mark was punched more than once into the die in slightly different positions, causing a shadowed or double D that can be subtle or quite obvious depending on the severity, and because modern minting transitioned away from hand-punching mint marks, these RPMs are less common in the 2000s, but that rarity only makes them more exciting when discovered, especially on a coin in high grade or with additional errors present. And then we have one of the more visually dramatic and instantly recognizable error types, off-center strikes, where the coin is not aligned properly in the striking chamber and is struck partially off the planchette, resulting in part of the design missing and a blank crescent of metal remaining, and these can range from minor misalignments of 5 to 10% to extremely dramatic 50% or greater off-center strikes, and collectors go wild for off-center pennies that still show the date and mint mark because it means the coin can be easily attributed while showcasing its dramatic flaw. And examples of 2003 pennies struck 40% off-center with full visible dates can reach or surpass the $185 mark, especially when paired with good luster and minimal circulation wear. And then there are broad-struck coins, which occur when the collar die that holds the coin in place fails or is absent, causing the metal to expand outward when struck, resulting in a larger than normal, flattened coin with design details that reach the edge and no clear rim, and these are also highly collectible for their unusual appearance and mechanical interest. And broad-struck 2003 pennies in uncirculated condition can push toward the higher value range depending on how extreme the error is. And another attention-grabbing error type is the struck-through error, where a foreign object like grease, thread, or debris gets between the die and the planchette during striking, creating ghostly voids, smears, or even missing design elements on the coin, and these can dramatically alter the appearance of Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions, leading to bizarre and one-of-a-kind coins that always garner collector interest. And a dramatic struck-through on Lincoln's face or the date, especially if paired with high condition and a clean surface, can command values that approach or exceed the $185 mark. And then there are coins struck on the wrong planchette, which is rare but possible, where a penny design is mistakenly struck on a dime, nickel, or foreign coin planchette, leading to a coin that is smaller, lighter, or otherwise dramatically different than standard pennies, and these are instantly noticeable once weighed or measured, and are among the most highly valued types of mint errors due to their sheer oddity and rarity. And examples of 2003 pennies struck on dime planchets have been recorded and can sell for hundreds of dollars, particularly when authenticated and slabbed by professional grading services. And then there are partial collar errors, also known as railroad rim errors, where the edge of the coin appears to have a stepped or ridged profile due to improper seating in the collar, and these coins are both visually striking and relatively scarce, adding value especially when found on coins in better-than-average condition. And another notable error type affecting 2003 pennies is the presence of lamination errors, where the surface of the coin begins to peel, flake, or bubble due to impurities or flaws in the metal composition or improper bonding of the plating. And while sometimes confused with post-mint damage, genuine lamination flaws have distinctive characteristics and are highly valued when they impact major design features or appear in an uncirculated coin. And a dramatic lamination peel across Lincoln's face or the motto can make an otherwise ordinary coin into a sought-after collectible. And beyond individual error types, the condition or grade of the coin plays a critical role in determining its value, and 2003 pennies that are still in mint state, meaning they've never been circulated or show no signs of wear, are significantly more valuable than their circulated counterparts, and coins graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC are especially desirable. And when a coin with a dramatic error like an off-center strike, CUD, or RPM also has a high grade, it becomes a top-tier collectible that easily crosses the $185 threshold. Next 2000 D1 cent USA coin. Today's deep dive we are exploring the fascinating world of the 2000 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a penny that at first glance might appear just like the billions of other cents minted during that year, but when examined through the lens of numismatic scrutiny reveals a treasure trove of minting anomalies, rare production defects, and eye-catching mistakes that can raise its value to as much as $45 or more in today's collector market. And while $45 might not sound like a life-changing sum to some, remember that it represents a 4,500% increase over its face value for a coin that could easily be sitting in your change jar, desk drawer, or inherited coin collection right now. And what makes this coin worth more than just a cent isn't its age or material value, but the imperfections and irregularities caused by errors in the minting process at the Denver Mint in the year 2000, a time when billions of coins were being struck at incredible speeds using high-pressure machinery that occasionally introduced unintended yet fascinating mistakes that have become the obsession of error coin collectors across the globe. So let's take a long, detailed, and thorough journey into the kinds of errors, mistakes, varieties, and minting missteps that transform an ordinary 2000D penny into a rare and desirable artifact worth real money, starting with die chips and die breaks, which occur when small pieces of the die, the steel stamp used to imprint the design on blank planches, break off or crack, often due to repeated use or stress, resulting in coins that display raised metal blobs or unusual shapes in places like Lincoln's eye, cheek, beard, or even the letters of Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 2000 itself. And when these die chips are large, well-formed, and clearly visible without magnification, they become collectible, especially when they create interesting or amusing shapes that lead to nicknames like the Spiked Head Lincoln or the Drooling Lincoln. Variety, and these kinds of coins in good condition, meaning free of major scratches or corrosion, can easily push a penny's value into the multi-dollar range, with the most dramatic die breaks or cuds, where a large section of the die has broken off completely, leading to a blob that extends into the rim or obliterates part of the design, selling for as much as $45 or more depending on the severity and placement of the cud. And then there's doubling, a term that gets collectors excited instantly. Because while major doubled die varieties are rare for the 2000D penny, minor doubling still occurs and can be found by closely inspecting key areas such as the date, Liberty, or the motto In God We Trust. And if you find doubling that is clear and unambiguous, it could significantly raise the value of your coin, especially when verified by third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC, which authenticate, label, and preserve coins for long-term collection and resale. And the same goes for repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which happen when the D mint mark was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, causing the letter to appear doubled, shadowed, or misaligned. And although hand-punched mint marks had largely been phased out by 2000, transitional inconsistencies can still occur in rare cases, leading to collectible varieties that are highly sought after by enthusiasts who chase modern RPMs. And then we get into one of the most visually shocking errors, off-center strikes, where a coin is not aligned properly in the striking chamber, resulting in a partial design being struck off the planchette and leaving a blank crescent of metal on the surface. And the degree of off-centeredness determines value, with coins that are 10 to 20% off-center being moderately collectible, but those with 40 to 60% misalignment, especially if the date is still visible, becoming significantly more valuable and often commanding prices of $45 or more in the right condition. And next up is another mechanical failure known as broad striking, which happens when the collar die that keeps the planchette in place fails, allowing the coin to expand outward during the strike, flattening the rim and producing a coin that looks enlarged or warped without its usual border. And these broad-struck errors are instantly recognizable and make a strong visual impression, adding to their appeal and pushing values upward, particularly when paired with minimal wear and strong strike details. And similar in nature are partial collar errors, often called railroad rim coins because they exhibit a stepped or ridged appearance along the edge, looking like a train track, caused by improper seating of the planchette in the collar during striking. And while subtle, These errors are both visually unique and mechanically fascinating, increasing their appeal to collectors who appreciate unusual edge varieties. And we also have struck-through errors, where foreign material like grease, thread, dust, or other debris ends up between the die and the planchette at the moment of striking, leading to ghost-like impressions, missing design details, or strange textures across parts of the coin. And depending on where the struck-through occurs, especially if it impacts Lincoln's portrait, the date, or any of the inscriptions, these coins can be highly collectible and their value jumps significantly when the error is dramatic and centered in a key design location. And another rare but highly desirable error is when a coin is struck on an incorrect planchette, which is when the 1-cent die is accidentally used on a blank intended for another coin or even a foreign coin, leading to drastic differences in weight, size, or metal composition. And a 2000D penny struck on a dime planchette or even a foreign planchette could weigh less than normal and lack a full rim or parts of the design, making it both a visually jarring and highly valuable piece. And such wrong planchette errors are rare but extremely valuable, often selling for hundreds of dollars, but even minor ones could push a coin's value well past the $45 mark. And then we encounter lamination errors, which happen when part of the metal surface of the coin peels away, bubbles, or flakes due to impurities or issues with how the plating adhered to the zinc core. And this results in coins with dramatic textures or missing areas of the copper layer, particularly interesting when they affect facial features or inscriptions. And high-grade examples of 2000D pennies with strong lamination flaws can fetch impressive premiums. And speaking of plating, zinc rot is another issue that can cause interesting damage on 2000D pennies, as these coins were made with a zinc core and a thin copper coating. And if that bond is imperfect, corrosion or bubbles can form under the surface. And while post-mint damage typically reduces value, when caused during the minting process, such blistering or bubbling can be categorized as a legitimate mint error, especially when authenticated. And all of this becomes even more valuable when you combine multiple errors on a single coin, such as a coin that is both off-center and struck through, or one that has a large die crack and also a dramatic lamination flaw. And the more unusual the combination and the cleaner the condition, the more appealing the coin becomes in the eyes of collectors. And of course, none of these errors would be worth much if the coin were in poor condition. So condition remains king when it comes to value. And uncirculated, or mint state examples, those that have never been used in commerce and still retain full original luster, command much higher prices than circulated ones. And a 2000D penny with a common error in MS65 condition could be worth more than one with a dramatic error but heavy wear. So grading becomes crucial, and coins that are certified by reputable third-party grading services gain extra trust and often sell for significantly more. And don't forget about eye appeal. Coins with natural toning, sharp strikes, and clean surfaces are always more attractive to collectors than dull or dirty examples. And sometimes a coin's value is also boosted by its provenance. If it was part of a known hoard, came from a famous collection, or was featured in publications or error coin websites, it gains prestige and historical value, and that adds to its market price. And what's amazing is that many of these coins are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered in old rolls, change jars, estate sales, bulk lots, or inherited collections. And the thrill of the hunt is part of what makes error coin collecting so rewarding, because every coin is a potential story. Last 2002 D1 cent USA coin. Today we are going to shine the spotlight on the 2002 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a modern penny that at first glance seems like just another ordinary coin minted in the billions by the Denver Mint during that year. But as we'll explore in incredible detail today, there's a fascinating array of minting mistakes, production flaws, and numismatic anomalies that can turn this simple 1 cent coin into a collectible worth as much as $65 or even more in the eyes of the right collector. And that kind of Value isn't based on age or rarity in the traditional sense, since over 3.4 billion of these coins were minted in Denver alone. But what makes specific 2002 D pennies so valuable lies in the unique and sometimes bizarre errors that occur during the minting process, many of which are accidental, extremely rare, and nearly impossible to replicate. And those qualities are precisely what drive demand and pricing within the error coin market. So as we take this comprehensive journey through the various kinds of errors that can elevate the humble 2002 D penny into a $65 marvel, we'll explore everything from die breaks, die clashes, and lamination errors to off-center strikes, broad strikes, repunched mint marks, double dies, wrong planchette strikes, and more obscure types of minting mistakes that seasoned collectors obsess over and casual enthusiasts dream of stumbling upon. And we start with one of the most common but still highly collectible minting issues: die chips and die cracks, which are caused when small or large portions of the hardened steel dies used to strike the coins begin to crack, break, or deteriorate under the immense pressure and repetitive use they endure, leading to coins that exhibit raised blobs of metal in areas like Lincoln's hair, eyes, beard, or the lettering of "I in God We Trust," Liberty, and the date. And when these chips take on recognizable or dramatic shapes, sometimes resembling horns, extra fingers, or teardrops, they earn nicknames and become highly desirable in the collector community. And larger die breaks, known as cuds, occur when a piece of the die completely falls off, resulting in a portion of the coin being covered by a thick blob of metal that extends from the rim and often distorts the surrounding design elements. And 2002 D cents with large or unusually shaped cuds can command values well above $65, especially when the error is bold and the coin remains in high grade with minimal wear. And closely related to these are die clashes, which happen when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, transferring part of the design from one die onto the other. And when a coin is later struck using those clashed dies, you get what are known as clash marks, faint but sometimes visible images of reverse elements on the obverse and vice versa. And collectors are particularly drawn to strong clashes where parts of the Lincoln Memorial appear on Lincoln's face or the back of his head, or where Lincoln's outline can be faintly seen between the columns of the memorial. And while die clashes are often subtle, strong ones are rare and captivating, increasing the coin's numismatic interest and therefore its market value. And then there are off-center strikes, which are dramatic and immediately eye-catching since they occur when the blank planchette isn't properly aligned in the striking chamber, leading to a coin that is partially struck with a crescent-shaped blank area. And depending on how far off-center the strike is, and whether or not the full date is visible, these coins can range in value from just a few dollars to well over $65 or more, especially when they're significantly off-center and well-preserved. And if the coin is missing up to 50% of its design but still shows a complete 2002 date and the D mint mark, you're looking at an incredibly desirable modern error that draws attention from both collectors and resellers. And broad strikes are another dramatic type of error that occurs when the collar die fails to hold the planchette in place during striking, allowing the coin to expand outward and appear flatter, wider, or rimless. And while not as common as minor die breaks, broad-struck 2002 D pennies in high condition with strong detail and little wear can fetch top dollar among collectors who seek unusual mechanical errors. And let's not forget partial collar strikes, also known as railroad rim coins, named for the unique step-like rim they display due to the coin being improperly seated in the collar during the strike, resulting in one side of the rim being properly formed while the other is not, creating a distinctive look that appeals to collectors and can push the value into the $65 range depending on how dramatic and centered the error is. And now we come to one of the holy grails of modern error collecting, the double die, which occurs when the die itself receives two misaligned impressions of the coin's design, leading to doubling that is actually part of the die and therefore appears consistently on all coins struck by that die. And while the 2002 D penny does not have any widely recognized doubled die varieties, minor or obscure examples have been discovered and are highly sought after, particularly when the doubling is visible in the letters of Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the digits of the date, and strong doubling, even if subtle, is prized because it reflects a true die variety and not just a machine or strike doubling, which is far more common and far less valuable. And that brings us to strike doubling or machine doubling, which results from loose or bouncing dies and can make a coin appear doubled even though the effect is superficial and not caused by a doubled die. And while machine doubling typically reduces value, extreme examples can still be collectible when paired with other errors. And now we explore the rare but fascinating possibility of wrong planchette strikes, where a penny is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another coin, such as a dime, foreign coin, or experimental blank, and these are exceedingly rare but spectacular when found, often displaying odd weights, thinner planchets, smaller diameters, or partially missing designs, and a 2002 D cent struck on a dime planchette or steel blank would be a truly unique find, and authenticated examples can exceed hundreds of dollars in auction. But even a less dramatic off-metal error in decent condition can break the $65 barrier easily. And then we have lamination errors, which occur when impurities or structural problems in the coin's metal cause parts of the copper plating to peel, bubble, or flake off, revealing the zinc core or creating dramatic textures across the coin's surface, especially near the portrait or key inscriptions. And large or oddly shaped laminations tend to command higher prices, especially if they are centered on the obverse and do not affect the visibility of the date or mint mark. And similarly, plating blisters and zinc rot, caused by poor adhesion between the copper layer and the zinc core, can create bubble-like distortions that, while often considered post-mint damage, are sometimes collectible if they can be traced to issues in the minting process itself. And when these surface abnormalities occur alongside another error type, their combined uniqueness increases desirability. And now we discuss repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which were largely phased out by 2002 due to the US Mint's shift to computerized mint mark applications. But in rare instances, transitional errors or anomalies in digital input can result in mint marks that appear doubled, shadowed, or oddly shaped. And while these are extremely rare for 2002 D, any such variety would be newsworthy in the collector community and could carry serious premium. And let's not forget struck-through errors, which happen when foreign materials such as grease, thread, debris, or metal shavings interfere during striking, resulting in odd voids, flat spots, or ghost-like impressions on the coin's surface. And these are especially compelling when the struck-through object leaves a recognizable imprint or occurs across critical features like Lincoln's eye, the motto, or the date, and these can fetch serious money when dramatic, centered, and preserved in mint state. And another subtle but important error type is the misaligned die, where the obverse and reverse dies are slightly offset, causing one side of the coin to appear shifted in relation to the other, often resulting in thicker or thinner rims on one side or edge detail that appears lopsided. And while mild misalignments are common and not particularly valuable, major ones, especially when paired with other features like doubling or die chips, can become highly collectible and raise a coin's value.